Disaster on the Dyno. I don't know what part this is. We've done a few of these. I'll put the video. I'll put a link to the video in the description so you can see it. Any of you that don't know what I'm talking about, a lot of you watched the video. A lot of you had comments. Turns out none of them were the right comment. But there's a lot of stuff that I thought they weren't off base. But I had checked all that stuff. And everybody was talking about piston to wall clearance. Everybody was talking about ring gap. I mean, you know, and all the usual stuff you would check. But nobody actually got the answer right. So the answer turned out to be relatively simple-ish, although I've never seen it before. Never measured for it before, and probably will now, but probably will never see it again. But long story short, just to give you an illustration, this is a 4-inch block, virgin block. This is a 30 over piston, forged. I can put it in up to the oil ring. There's no way it's going in the way it belongs. I can put it in up to the oil ring. Here's a cast or hyperutetic 30 over, and I can put that one in up to the first compression ring. No way could I put it in this way. No way. So, a little history on the other engine. I had it together, and I'm looking at it, and I said, man, that thing looks tight. What's your piston to wall clearance? If anything, it was big. I think, what were we, 4.5?
4.5.
But the engine looked just tighter than visually what I'm used to looking at. Questioned it a bit, but everything seemed all right. Didn't think too much of it. We put it on the dyno. Breaks in beautifully. Not an ounce of breather smoke. Everything's nice. I wouldn't run it. Probably 20 minutes. Ran through a good heat cycle.
Yep.
Let it cool off. Fired it up. Started our first dyno pull. Barely rolled into it. And I mean, breather smoke. It looked like Old Faithful. Bring it home, tear it apart. We have got rings we had one cylinder that dropped off to like 60 pounds of compression. We checked it there. The other cylinders actually, when it was hot, checked all right. We bring it home. Those rings are stuck in that piston hardcore. I mean, just jammed right in there, solid. So, start tearing the rest of them out. We got a few others that are stuck in the piston. They hadn't done the damage that number 8 had done, but they were damaged. Still didn't realize what was going on. Remeasured everything, rechecked everything, posted that video. Everybody had their comments, double checked everything. Shot another video on it, questioning a few more things. We got down to where we were measuring ring lands and measuring the depth of the ring lands. I got all the specs from the manufacturer. When I asked them for the specs, all of a sudden they wanted the pistons back. I said, send me new ones. I didn't buy the Made in India crap. I bought these from Wiseco, these Pro Street Wisecos, made in the good old USA. And guess what? They ain't a hell of a lot more expensive. And they come with a ring pack and a whole shooting match. I mean, they were, my cost, the wholesale, 500 Canadian dollars, 380, I think, US. Something like that.
I think they're a little more, but yes.
Go back and double check that.
Around that.
Yeah, and you know, these ones are about half of that, but they don't come with rings. So, or these ones rather, are about half of that, but they don't come with rings. So, upon the conclusion that I could put this one in, and I just simply dropped this in here thinking, you know, I want to make sure this is a virgin block, and we're going to have room to bore. And I dropped in there like that, and I'm like, I think I know what's wrong. The pistons we had did not have enough taper cut into them.
Now, this piston does have enough taper cut into it,
different set.
But that's a set from a different date of manufacture and everything else. But this piston actually has 30 thousandths of taper to it.
Yep.
This piston has 45 thousandths of taper.
45 or 47, yeah.
Yeah, from where you should measure
Now,
taper.
a forged piston is going to have
more
taper.
For sure. Than a cast piston.
Cast piston.
Yep, absolutely.
But the other piston didn't have hardly any taper cut into it.
Yeah.
And what happens is they leave that taper cut out of them because the top of your piston expands quite a bit. And between the first and second groove, they expand quite a bit. Less than the top, but they continue, your heat's all up here. All your friction from your rings is here. So it creates a lot more heat in that piston right in this area. Fire, friction, everything's here. It swelled up, it bound. Bob's your uncle. We got stuck rings.
That's why material transferred to the rings.
That's why material transferred to the rings. Never would have thought to measure that. I can honestly tell you I'll measure it again. At this point, we will measure pistons for taper. Probably never see another bad set, but we'll check them regardless. The other thing is, I gotta say, I'm done buying. I had bought a lot of these kind of brand and stuff, and never had a problem with them, but everything's moved offshore now. The government's basically made it impossible for people to do business here on low budget stuff with the EPA what it is. So we send it to another country where they make it with no standards, put even more shit in the air, and all of it floats back over here. So I'm not sure what we're saving, but I'll buy these bad boys. And now that I found these, for the extra couple $100 max, probably 150 with rings, I don't know, say 200. I'll buy the Made in USA. It's a better finish. If you look at the ring pack is a nice narrow ring pack. So, and this is all shit we learned in race motors back in the 80s and 90s doing this stuff to reduce friction.
Yeah.
Look at the ring pack in that stock style. Yeah. I mean, it's now.
I mean, look at the piston in general. I mean,
this piston, you're going to see a bigger separation of ring. The reason for that is this is a 350 piston. This is a 383 piston. So everything's been moved uphill on this piston. So they have tightened this up a bit. But still, it's a lower friction ring. The cylinder wall will last longer. The ring is going to last longer. It's going to seal better. You're going to have less parasitic drag. You're going to make more horsepower. There's no loss on the small ring. And we learned this stuff in race motors in the 80s and 90s. And the factory started to apply this kind of technology by around 97. That Vortec engine already had the smaller ring and stuff. So they what we did to make a more efficient horsepower engine, that same efficiency can apply to fuel efficiency.
for sure. And dramatically reduced block wear.
Dramatically.
I mean, you pull apart an LS with 200,000-300,000 miles and you can hone the cylinders and
look at our dirt motors going through the worst case scenario. Yeah. And we get 2-3 rear rings out of those things without a problem.
Yeah, and mainly you were just because you were honing the material out of them, not because they were wearing.
Yeah, exactly. The cylinder walls look gorgeous in them, as long as the guys keep a filter on them. I mean, this is a no-brainer to go to this. I've got a US-made product. I've got a nice fit, a nice finish, stronger, bigger, better. Everything about it's better. So it's the way we'll go in the future. And I will tell you this. Probably with an expensive piston, maybe measure your taper. If you're buying these El Cheapos, definitely measure your taper.
For sure.
They gave me a full credit back for my pistons. They wanted those things back bad.
Yeah, which didn't cover the fact that block was on its last rebuild cycle.
Yeah.
So we had to purchase this block.
Yep.
We had to go find this block, purchase this block that matched the other block.
Yep.
We have to bore the block. We probably should deck the block. We already line honed the block. So I mean, if
we're out bearings, we're out gaskets, we're out time.
Yes.
We're out.
It's a $2,500 to $3,000 problem.
Yeah.
That at least we get credited the pistons
Looks
back.
bad for the customer.
Looks bad for us.
Looks bad for everybody involved. For a cheap ass set of pistons. But live and learn. And I've put, I don't know, 200 sets of these things in engines. Never had an issue through the years. But that was back in the day when men were men and women could cook and they made stuff here. And now...
Yeah, made in India. Not good.
Yeah. So,
you can see that right on these. If you take and look at the bottom side of them, the other ones literally would say made in India, right? Yep, India. Right there.
Yep.
So this, like he says, this is a better kit. Comes with, your pistons and your wrist pins and...
Look right there.
Yeah, man.
So, if it ain't made in North America, I don't want it. And I guess we have to measure.
I mean, I think it's pretty commonplace. If you're building a Japanese engine, you use Japanese parts. If you're building an American engine, you use American parts.
Our little Volkswagen diesel down there, we've got the German pistons for it. So.
Well, there you go.
But it's a shame we got to this point because we used to be able to build those budget engines. You could buy those, complete piston kits.
Yeah, between the piston kits and between the flat tappet cams, the days of building a really budget 350 is pretty.
Yeah, the good parts are gone.
Yeah.
The good parts are gone. Those days are.
Yeah.
They're over. So.
Yeah. I mean, now, not to say somebody couldn't buy those pistons and be successful with them.
We've been successful with many pairs.
Just be very sure to
many sets of
check critical things.
And we beat the hell out of some of those engines with those.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm just saying, now that I see this product and this at this price point with full ring pack and everything else, for the extra couple $100, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So anybody can find that part number.
Yeah, that's a 383 for a 5.7 rod, which I'd probably go 6-inch rod, but regardless, that's
it is what it is.
Yeah, but that's So but I mean, this product line, they make this and everything.
Yeah.
You can buy that for a bunch of different strokes and bores and whatever, and
engine families.
It looks like a pretty nice product to me for the money. There's a downside to these. And I've dealt with this type of piston before.
Yeah, it's not a race piston.
No. If you're trying to use like a big 208 valve or 2100 or something, you're not going to do it. The valve pocket, you don't have enough radial clearance cut into these. So you got to step it up and buy a better piston for that. But for these street type engines, 202 type valve, all that kind of stuff, I'll go the extra couple $100 and buy these.
Tons of clearance.
Yeah, I would actually, looking at that piston, I wouldn't be afraid to put it. It put a pretty good deck on it. You see how much it's...
Yeah.
I mean, I'd put that in something better, but I know I can't. Because I've dealt with that before. With
budget circle track engine or something, that piston
but
should
like
be fine.
The dirt modified engines with those spec heads, they come with that 208 valve. And I remember Andre had a set of Malleys.
Same thing like that.
Had that type of cut. There's no way you were going to clear that thing by the valve.
No, you'd be fly cutting.
Oh, yeah. And then I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's not at that point. It's not worth it. Just buy the better piston. Yeah. But for all these 99% of the engines we do, typical street type application, hot rod street engine, 202 valve type deal, 202 or smaller. That's perfect. And super nice finish and super efficient ring pack. It'll be the cat's meow. And that engine will be better than it was ever going to be now. So.
Yep. So we're in the middle of boring the fresh block and 4 holes to go.
Mm-hmm. All right.